Hello everyone. Alright, this is it. Sunday Apologetics back. Got a new channel and all that. And here it is. This is the video about my stance and my objections to homosexuality. I made very sure that in making this video, because I know for a fact, as I said before, me and the GSA, or the LGBTQ or STDs community, whatever you want to call them, we didn't leave on good terms. I used to be a supporter of them. I'm going to start out by telling you how I became a member of the GSA, the Gay Straight Alliance. That right there in itself is quite the story, and this is Sunday Apologetics. Thank you for tuning in. I was at Lakeshore, and the LGBT community wasn't really a thing yet. It was more just the GSA. They were trying to rally supporters for it. And I was what I guess one could call... Ooh, my thing's falling. I was what I guess one could call a lukewarm Christian. I didn't really pay too much attention to what the Bible said. I was one of those people who believed that, you know, you could be gay and still be doing everything right. You could still be a Christian. And I supported this and bisexuals and all that. You know, God will love you just the way you are. Yeah. Don't ever remind me. I can't stand to remember it. But something happened that when I joined the GSA, for about 2 years I was a part of them, and I began to get the feeling, somewhere in between the end of the first year and the beginning of the second, that something is wrong. These people seem a little... I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but something was bothering me, to the point where I didn't want to go anymore. So I think what it was is that one transgender woman, meaning a man who thinks he's a woman, got a sex change. And he started talking about how every time he had to go back to the doctors every so often because his vagina was closing up on him, and he had to have it reopened to try and make sure it was still, vagina. And at the time I didn't say anything, but that really got me thinking. I sat there and I said to myself, why is your body trying to close it back up? It's treating it like it's an open wound. And I thought to myself, if our body is trying to tell us to not do something, and we keep doing it, is it really right? And I know transgender and gays, those are two completely different things, but it got me wondering about the health statistics, because there's a lot of talk in the GSA about be clean, use condoms, use protection, don't do this, not this kind, don't use this, a whole bunch of stuff, and honestly, to me it's so disgusting. I'm not even going to go into everything they told us. But I began to look up, because I'm like, they're really putting a heavy emphasis on this. And yeah, I know, heterosexual couples need to be clean too, but it just seemed that they were really pushing it. So I began to look up what exactly are the statistics for, like, health and stuff like that. And of it, I found out, very first thing I find out, which is what a lot of people find out, gay and bisexual men are more likely to be infected with HIV and AIDS. I thought to myself, why? That was something I asked myself. And because in turn, this means that gay and bisexual men are more likely to have HIV or AIDS positive partner. And I realized that anal sex, or sodomy, is the most riskiest kind of sex you can have. And it brought me back, when I read that, it kind of brought me back to the transgender thing, where we're doing something to our body that we're not supposed to be doing. You know, you shouldn't stick stuff up your nose, shouldn't stick things in your ears, shouldn't stick things in your eyes, and you shouldn't be sticking things in the back door either, if you know what I mean. You know, that your rear end is a one-way street. Nothing is supposed to be going up there. And this is the most riskiest kind of sex, and it's the kind of sex that, the gay community, LGBT community, they all seem to really like. It's what most of them would do. Gay and bisexual people. Oh, man down. Gay and bisexual people also happen to have higher chance of all kinds of STDs. I think syphilis, they make up 75%. Sources for this information, by the way, will be in the description. So I thought to myself, well, being gay and leading a gay lifestyle and having, anal sex, which is what, a lot of people who were in that group were into and very open about having. And again, I'm not going to go too much into detail about any other things, but there were other things they were definitely talking about with the back door. So I thought to myself, if this is what we're doing, if this is what the GSA is in support of, because two guys, they generally, most of them seem they're going to have they're going to be sodomites. And that seemed to be a running, reoccurring theme for the LGBT community. And I thought to myself, well, is it right? Because keep in mind, right now, I'm still in the GSA. I'm supporting this. I went to the bake sales. I even went to a freaking drag queen thing. But, I even walked with one to right here, I'm in Niagara Falls, downtown Buffalo, there's the Pride House. And I didn't go in, but, and I never once questioned whether or not I was gay. I kind of always seemed like, I always kind of knew I was straight. I was just joining because, I was kind of new, I just moved, I didn't have any friends. It's what everyone was doing. So I kind of just, supported it, even though, I kind of was, ew. I went there, and honestly, I began to do more research. I began to ask about, what's the mentality? Maybe it's just a physical thing. Maybe we can find some way, use protection and all that, to make it safer. But then I began to look at the mentality and the relationship statistics of homosexual and lesbian couples, and compared to straight heterosexual couples, there's an alarmingly large difference. I'll just read them off real quick here. I have some statistics right here. When it comes to heterosexual couples, 80% of all the heterosexual marriages will last about 5 years. 66% will last 10 years, 75% will last 15, 50% will last 20. And when it comes to the homosexual statistics, I'm going to be kind of lenient here, and I'm going to give them some wiggle room. I'm not going to use numbers like 5 years like I did for the heterosexual couples. Is going to be a range. So 29% of all homosexual relationships will last about 4 to 7 years. 14% will last 8 to 11. 16% will last 12 to 15. 5% will last 20 or less years. Now, you can go to my link and go to my sources and see the graph. That is, if you can't mentally picture it, that is alarmingly higher. The marriages just don't do very well. Not marriages, like relationships. And also, 4.5 of homosexual couples, this is something else because you remember with the LGBT community, the saying is love. And being someone who was there doesn't seem to be a lot of what I would call loyalty. I know, and I know I'm going to get this, well, this is true with heterosexual couples too, but it was alarmingly higher, and if you go into my sources, you'll kind of see, because I kind of got the feeling this may have been true. 1 second this guy was with this guy, but then he was with the other. 4.5% of homosexual couples reported the partner staying loyal to them. That's the fidelity rate among homosexuals that were reported, 4.5. You have a damn near guaranteed chance your partner's going to cheat on you or sleep with someone else. And all you who are about to go into the comment section and say, Trey, these studies seem outdated, some are from early 2000s, lots changed since then. I looked and I couldn't find any modern day ones that really said anything different or showed any improvement. As a matter of fact, I even went as far as to go to the Washington Post, which I usually won't do, and read an article about the gay fidelity rate. A lot of them go, and it's not even really called cheating because the other person is actually okay with it. A gay guy will let his gay husband go sleep with another guy, and honestly, fidelity isn't even required. Open marriage or whatever. And see, to me, this was kind of the final straw because I had to ask myself, is that love? I have a girlfriend right now. And let's use our imagination and say, I got an itch she ain't scratching. You know what I mean? I have an itch that she's not scratching. Does that mean now I'm going to go find another girl and, do it with whatever my girlfriend ain't doing for me? Who's going to do it for me? No, that doesn't seem right. Love is love. It really should be changed to lust is lust. That's not love. Love does not involve one person not doing it for you, therefore you go and you find another one who will, temporarily, and then go back to that other person. What's the point of even getting married at this point in time? When it comes down to it, a lot of objections you all probably have watching this video. I didn't encourage you to go to my sources, because a lot of these objections, I'm leaving out a lot. They actually discuss it more. But, this Washington Post article is about this gay guy, and he's actually okay with it. A lot of them are. It's like none of them care about fidelity or staying loyal to each other. And that's just not love to me. When one guy ain't doing it for you, so you go and find another one. Why are you even married? It seems like they just wanted to get the right to marry because, other people have the right to marry, so why not us? Like I said, check out my sources. A lot of objections you probably have right now are addressed. Also, so I began to ask myself, so should I take pity? Are gay people, why is someone gay? And I began to think it was an environmental thing, because being a historian, even at that point in my life, really into history, I kind of remembered, Greece, a lot of the guys were gay, Rome, a lot of the guys were gay, and some people, I read somewhere and I heard from people that children who are victims of child molestation this can impact their sexuality later in life. And I thought to myself, that's a really good point to make. Greece and Rome, they were big on pedophilia and, guy on boy. So that actually would make sense. Also, there's an article, I'm going to link it with my sources, that was written by Dr. Michael Brown. And yeah, if I just triggered any of you by saying his name, sorry, but he's a great guy. I did watch his interview with David Wood. I know he's marked as a hateful person, hate member, or whatever by the Southern Poverty Law Center, but he has done nothing to be worthy of being called a hate person or a hate crime person. Robert Spencer is also considered someone who commits hate crimes by them, or a hate group, his group, Jihad Watch. Honestly, they would probably call me a freaking hate crime someone who committed a hate crime just for making this video. It's laughable what people get labeled hate crimes for. David Wood interviewed him. He's a very nice guy, very smart. Sorry if you don't like him, but attack the facts and his article, not him. But then I also heard about it being genetic. Like, is homosexuality genetic? And having studied biology, I learned about something called the fraternal birth disorder, genetic disorder. That's what I like to call it. It's not sure what the proper name for it is, but basically it's a genetic defect that is common among, men being born underweight, men having a higher chance of dying, and I call it a defect because it comes with all that stuff, and someone always says, like, homosexuality is genetic. But how? They can't reproduce. Even if you assume there was a curious guy who was experimenting and he just slept with a girl, well, that would make it the bisexual gene, because he would have had to have been, getting the rocket off the pad if he was sleeping with a girl. So he must have been sexually aroused. So how do you explain men who swear to God that, they have no sexual attraction to women at all? Could be this genetic disorder. And that's what it is. They think that when the fetus is formed, there could be some type of genetic defect. But no one calls it a genetic defect. If you had called it a genetic defect, I would have said, oh, okay, I can kind of understand that. But they kind of just like, well, it's genetic. But that implies like kind of was passed down. So, molestation, I believe, can affect a child's sexuality. Also, it could be genetic. But looking at everything that I have said here, when I looked at these statistics, I kind of imagined myself in their shoes. I kind of felt bad for them. I said, if I was gay, I was to look at this, the very first thing I would think to myself is, I saw the health risk, the fact my partner's probably cheating on me, our marriage probably isn't going to last. It just seems like on a natural, mental, and physical scale, homosexuality or same-sex relationships just are negative. They're more likely to end in divorce, and if they're more likely to end in divorce, then, homosexual or same-sex couples are worse for children, because we know children do better in families that stay together. Divorce is not good for children. And if same-sex couples have a high chance of getting divorced, well then, and they get children, the child is now in a relationship that is destined higher than others to fail and suffer because of that. So the question is, if you're gay, can you change? Because I heard about conversion therapy. And honestly, when it comes down to it, despite popular opinion, yes, you can change. There was something going around, and I even shared it in my group, and it was taken down, and I'm really kind of aggravated about that because I can't find it anywhere else. I'd have to try finding YouTube. I found some clips of it, but it was like a whole presentation of something called #IamAFraud, of people who came forward and said that sexual conversion therapy did work for them. And honestly, when it comes to trying to treat homosexuality, have we honestly tried? Like, when was the last time anyone really tried? Knowing what we know in modern times about it. And it seems like those that have tried it, some have worked. I'm going to share two things. As a matter of fact, after this video, a clip's going to play of people testifying conversion therapy has worked for them. They thought they were gay. They now have a family. One's even talking like a gay dude still, but you get the idea. It is possible. You control your life. Your life does not control you. I don't think, and I regret that I ever did this, saying to someone, yeah, you can't change, you can't help that you feel that way. If it's something that happened because of molestation, or whether it's something that happened because it's genetic, it doesn't mean that it can't be helped. Or else every genetic alcohol out there would be in trouble. So I think homosexuality and same-sex relationships should be censored the same way that smoking and drinking are, especially when it comes to children. In the 60s, we put heavy censors on cigarettes. We began to. They've gotten only worse since because we know it's unhealthy. Why don't we do the same with homosexual marriages? Or homosexual coupling? Or any kind of same-sex marriages, for that matter. Instead, it seems like it's kind of being promoted, and kids are being more exposed to it. That's why I'm talking to you, Disney. But either way, I'm not going to sit here and approve of something. I'm not going to sit here and approve of same-sex couples for the same reason I don't approve of smoking or alcoholism or drinking. I don't think it's something that should be happening. I don't think it's healthy. I don't encourage it. I do not support same-sex couples. But you have the right to be stupid in America, and these people seem to have taken full advantage of that. Regardless how destructive it is, just like someone who smokes or does drugs or drinks a lot, you're free to do it. For better or for worse. So if you tell me that I should support homosexual coupling or same-sex coupling, you really should think of a better reason than, oh, but it's polite. Because I'm not in the business of doing what's nice. I'm in the business of doing what is right. So if you think that homosexuality or same-sex couples are something to be supported, I'll accept it, but I won't support it. I'll accept that's the way you are, but I don't have to wave a flag and talk about how wonderful it is or how proud I am that you got your rights. If you mean to tell me that I'm stupid or a bigot if I don't support same-sex couples, I got one question for you. Want to tell me some more BS?
Thank you, Madam Speaker, members. This is a very difficult issue, I think. And I think the reason why it's a difficult issue is because it goes to the very center of people's identity and who they are and who they believe they are. And so I very much heard my colleague. Actually, I was in committee when the bill was up, and definitely heard from him the hurt and the ostracization that many feel. But I think the thing that I would ask the author to consider, as he's moving forward with his bill, is considering the very genuine and I think legitimate experience of people who testified in that committee, that this was something that helped them.
Hi, thank you, Assembly members, for your time. My name is Ken Williams, and I'm here today because I don't want LGBTQ people to have any rights taken away from them. I believe they deserve every option to pursue happiness the way they determine it. And this bill, which ought to protect them, I believe would actually rip away some inalienable rights to pursue happiness. I was confused about my gender, like the gentleman mentioned before, that they had some confusion and were on a journey to find themselves sexually. I can relate to them, and I can feel that pain. I didn't fit in with the boys or the girls ever in my childhood. And when my sexual desires emerged, they were only for men. And that was really devastating for me. It was very confusing. And at 17, I crashed emotionally, and I was contemplating suicide on a daily basis for a long time. I told my parents finally. I broke down. We cried together. They said they'd love me no matter what, and they asked me how they could help. We found a therapist who would help me pursue my option, which I wanted change. I wanted to live as a man heterosexually. And I devoured the few books and resources that were available. I devoured them, and I joined a group. And some of us experienced the changes that we were looking for in that group. Not everyone did. Despite years of homosexual identity and behavior, my sexual desires did change. I'm no longer sexually attracted to men. And I met a girl and fell in love with her, was sexually aroused by her, and I married her in 2006. She's the one person who thrills me sexually. I'm faithful to her. She is my most precious gift. And 2943 would have stolen this rich life from me. And it would leave the many others like me who are hurting, finding no books, no resources, no therapy. Some do want to live out their same-sex desires, and that is their right. But not everyone who finds himself with same-sex desires is wanting to pursue that, is at peace with that. And so I'm trying to figure out why anyone would want to take away the rights of my people group, which is people finding themselves with desires that they would like to see change. People's brains can change. It's neuroplasticity. And why would we tell people or why would anyone tell people like me that I don't exist, or that my desire to live authentically is fraudulent? What right does government have to tell me how I have to identify sexually? So I oppose AB 2943 because I believe it's a violation of our free speech and also people's rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Thank you so much.
My name is Elizabeth Wanning. Sorry, I'm coming up at the last minute, so I'm speaking to you all completely spontaneously. I haven't had any time to prepare. I grew up believing that I didn't fit in with the girls. I didn't accept my life as a girl. I identified as a dyke. I had my first relationship with a woman. It began at 16. I came out in my early 20s. I lived locally here in Midtown in the gay community all through my 20s. I went to seminary, in a Presbyterian seminary in Chicago, Illinois. Openly gay. I was one of maybe 6 who were openly out and proud. When I graduated from seminary, I did ministry in the gay community, but my faith journey led me out of that lifestyle. As I pursued the Lord, I gained freedom. I eventually got married to a man, and I do ministry among other women who've had the same experience as me. I'm concerned that there is not enough reflective scientific study on the fluidity of sexuality for women specifically, and that this bill realize that many women seek refuge from misogyny and sexism in the arms of another woman. And this bill could hinder that experience of freedom and health, wholeness to women if it's passed. Please oppose this bill.
And I believe these people were hearing that testimony, it was very powerful as well. And that freedom, if it means something, it means the ability to be free to be who you are. And I think it must also mean freedom to be who you want to be. And I think for those individuals, who have testified and have come forward as this bill has moved forward, they would probably tell you that this is who they are. And I think we have to consider that experience. It might be different from other people's experience, right? Where it's been very hurtful, it's been something that's been damaging. But for those people, I think we have to consider that living in a free society is the freedom for people to do things that maybe we think are not the best, maybe that we think are hurtful or damaging. So I think that's something we have to think about, the legitimate experience of people who have gone through conversion therapy and have said that this was a good thing for them.